Thank you, David. A question to Mr Rudd, but to you too, Mr Abbott, on the issue of trust. Mr Rudd, you're suggesting the Coalition would raise a tax, but in the past 6 years, the Labor government has raised a number of taxes or charges or levies. Recently, you raised a tax a little more than a week ago. Mr Abbott, you've criticised the Labor Party for not taking policies to an election, for implementing them without taking them to people, but you'd implement recommendations of your Audit Commission that you deem to be within your mandate without putting them before the people. Why should people trust you when you criticise the other side for doing something you do yourself?
Are you putting this question to me first and then to Mr Abbott? Let's go to a very basic measure here. You talk about the tax impost on Australians. Under this government, the tax to GDP ratio has, in the period that we've been in office, an average of 22.7%. Under the Coalition, the average for the period they were in office was 25.1%. That's a big difference. It's a huge difference. And therefore, the whole premise of the argument that this government is overtaxing the Australian people really has to be tested against the facts. The other thing I'd say is that with income tax cuts, we have rolled out 3 years' worth of those, and they have had a benefit to families in Australia under financial pressure. There's always more to do on tax, but on tax policy I'd also say this. If Mr Abbott is in the business of rolling out proposed tax cuts for the company rate of 1.5% and abolishing the mining tax, well, they are tax cuts which benefit very large corporations in the main. They don't do a lot for small business, particularly the unincorporated ones. And further to that, if the way of offsetting that for ordinary Australian families is to hold open the possibility of a review of the goods and services tax, I don't think there's a lot of equity in that. So our record on tax as a proportion of the economy is a strong one, introducing personal income tax cuts which benefit families under financial pressure. Mr Abbott seems to be heading in the reverse direction for big companies and mining companies who frankly have enjoyed high levels of profitability for a long period of time.
Well, if I could just, Lyndall, remind the Prime Minister and viewers at home of the words of the former Prime Minister, Ms Gillard, who said in the Parliament in early 2012, if you're against cutting the company tax, you're against jobs. And the words of the former Treasury Secretary, Dr Henry, who said that the principal beneficiaries of any company tax cut are workers. So our company tax cut, our carbon tax cuts are designed to increase jobs, to improve job security and to help people with their cost of living. Abolishing the carbon tax will mean a $550 a year saving for the average household. As for the Commission of Audit, well, it's not a tax review, it's a review into the size, scope and efficiency of government, and we wouldn't implement any recommendations that we felt were contrary to a mandate.